And then if you go to page 2, you'll see the requirements for departments and the contacts, completing the survey and training compliance objectives. So it's quite extensive. Yeah. Do I have a motion about accepting this policy and procedure? Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 17 is accepting a contract for consulting, professional, and technical services in relation to the old jail and jail ground sections. This is a group that currently is under contract with the Economic Development Council for the state school now. They're reviewing and vetting the institutions that are interested in the state school. Because we own the facility in the county, the old jail, we have the opportunity to use these folks who are well known in the justice realm in the state of Texas to help secure institutions who may be interested in the old jail under a lease agreement. And that's the purpose of this this service agreement, this CSA agreement that we got here. I didn't see anybody. They didn't make it here. Okay. Well, what we can do is table this so that we can talk through it moving on to the cut. You're right, I think it's better that we have it here to review it. Daphne?
I have looked at it. I'm not finding an answer on whether we can or whether we can't. I do have concern and still have a question in regard to the payment, how they will be paid, what pays them. Because I know our county policy in regard to reimbursement, looks at county employees and county officials. So I'm just kind of concerned about the payment. Is something going to be set up or authorized, or if that can be done to pay them? And I've only talked to Melissa about it briefly, but that was because I called her in regard to the money, how they would be paid, how the county would authorize paying them. And then in regard to the scope of the work, another concern is in regard to number 5, the negotiation. I would think that the county, you as the county judge and or the sheriff or the chief deputy would need to be involved with negotiations and not have someone negotiate on behalf of the county. Maybe negotiating, in conjunction with, but not solely to represent the county in any type of negotiations. So but those are my concerns, but I'm still looking for, can we really do this or can we not? And I haven't found a clear answer. And I've looked at some AG opinions, but I'm not getting a clear answer. I mean, the county can, of course, you can enter into contracts, but can it be this type of contract? And is it going to fall into economic development? If so, then that's a whole different issue on whether the county can do that or not. So I'm still looking. But those are my concerns just in reading it in regard to personnel and then number 5 under the scope.
Okay, good. Well, we'll table it and we'll contact Bill Brown Associates to be here for the next commission.
Can I just make one quick comment? Sorry. Just since it's County Government Month, and probably people don't realize what Daphne was just talking about. The law on counties are very different from, say, the cities or the state. We're just an arm of the state. We can only do what they tell us. They have to give us very specific instructions. You can do this. And if it doesn't say you can do this, we can't do it. which is the opposite of what criminal law is, just the opposite. So that's why we always have these issues from time to time, just because people don't, if it doesn't specifically say these guys can do
Yeah,
that,
by constitution or statute.
then we can't do it. So- Okay, that's your history lesson for the.
No, it's good. We definitely want to do with any
Yes.
of the terms and conditions. Good, okay, so we'll table it for next time. Item number 18, the last one is presentation by Ray. On the 2.2.
On our money.
Melissa gave me a wonderful segue, because you have a document, a contract from the state, that says what you are to do on this grant. Unfortunately, it's not quite as clear as you would think. I understand that y'all were given some information in the past regarding what this contract actually means. For example, we're talking about the Hurricane Ike Round 2.2 grant funding, mostly for road improvements within the county. And the contract says the grantee, the county, shall regrade, reconstruct, reclaim on down the road, the roads within the county. Now, what that sounds like that this contract means that y'all will be the ones to actually do the work. That is not what the intent of this contract is currently. In fact, the budget that was put together by your engineer was budgeted for this grant to be basically a turnkey operation where you would go out to bid, hire a third-party contractor to come in and actually do the work, provide the material, do the work on the roads itself. So if y'all have gotten some information in the past regarding who's supposed to do what, right now the way it's set up is it is set up to bid out the project and not to have the commissioners, the crews, have to go out and deal with the actual construction.
So it's confined to the scope of the project, it's confined under housing.
That's correct, that's correct. And I know that there was a change in engineers from the time, not engineering firm, but actual individuals from the time that it was budgeted by the engineers versus the engineers of today, and so there's been a little bit of confusion regarding that. But you do have options. Right now, this project is moving forward in the direction of bidding it out and getting the job done. In fact, you have until December 3rd of 2014 to actually have the construction complete. So we're not in an absolute time crunch. Now that sounds like that's far away, but we are dealing with government, and we're dealing with massive government with strings tied to it, such as environmentals and everything else that y'all are familiar with. So to make a change at this point,
One question, right? If you're going out for bid right now, the ESIA should already be done.
no, we won't be going out for bid, and that's one of
But
the.
you said it's in the process of bid.
Well, we're in the process of getting to that point. The engineer,
So you haven't done it right.
I'll tell you what, I believe it's around the 19th of this month, the engineer is scheduled to turn in their 30% submittal to the state, which basically is their rough draft of what it is they plan on this. There's already a rough draft, there are already roads listed, there's already distances listed, but just a more detailed rough draft, if you will, of what they plan on doing. At that moment, that is when the state will hire the environmental service provider who will come out and do the environmental review. That's when that starts. And ideally, at the same time, the engineer is preparing the final plans, getting it up to 100% submittal, getting all of y'all's approval, and then they finish up. Usually they're given about 90 days from the time that the environmental service provider is hired to finish the environmental. And so ideally, the engineer would finish their plans at the end of that 90-day period and be ready for y'all to approve and go on out to bid and get this thing under construction. Right now, that, if it went that direction, would probably put you somewhere in August, if everything were to stay on schedule with the engineer and the environmental service provider to go out to bid, roughly.